You see a man on a horse. Nothing strange about that out here in the Old West. But this man, Nathan Cross, he isn't just riding. He's pushing his mare hard, foam flecking her chestnut coat. And behind him, on a lead rope, is the real reason for his haste. A stallion, a creature of midnight and muscle. A horse so black it seems to drink the sunlight. This is Thunder, and he's the most famous and most dangerous horse in 3 counties. Not because he's mean, but because of the man who used to own him. A man who's now dead. Nathan's not a lawman. He's not a bounty hunter. He's just a rancher who happened to be in the wrong saloon at the wrong time and overheard a story that wouldn't let him sleep. A story about 2 little kids who thought their beloved horse had just run off. A story about a father who'd sold that horse for whiskey money just days before he was killed in a brawl. Nathan, he couldn't stand it. So he tracked the horse down, bought it from a dealer for twice its worth, and now he's doing the one thing his conscience demands. He's bringing Thunder home. He crests a small rise, and there it is, the Martinez homestead, a tired-looking adobe house that's seen better days, and then he hears it, a sound that cuts right through the prairie wind. "Thunder! Come home, Thunder!" It's a boy's voice, full of a hope that's starting to wear thin. Nathan pulls his mare to a stop, his heart thumping a heavy rhythm against his ribs. He sees them, a boy, maybe 10, standing on a fence post scanning the horizon, and a little girl, 7 at most, sitting in the dust, her shoulders slumped in defeat. Miguel and Carmen Martinez, the children of the dead man, the children who don't know their father lied to them. This is it, the moment of truth. Nathan can give them the horse and the ugly facts, or he can give them something else, a better story, a kinder lie. He nudges his mare forward, the magnificent black stallion trailing behind him like a shadow. The little girl, Carmen, sees him first. Her head snaps up. Her eyes go wide. She doesn't see Nathan. She only sees the horse. "Miguel!" she shrieks, scrambling to her feet and pointing. "Look, it's him!" The boy spins around on the fence post, nearly losing his balance. His mouth falls open. For a second, he just stares, frozen. Then a single word escapes his lips, full of disbelief and pure joy. "Thunder!" He leaps from the fence and they both start running, 2 small figures, kicking up clouds of dust as they sprint across the yard. Their bare feet pound against the hard-packed earth, a frantic drumbeat of answered prayers. Nathan feels a lump form in his throat. The raw, unfiltered happiness on their faces is almost too much to bear. This is why he did this. This exact moment. Thunder recognizes them too. His ears perk forward, and he lets out a soft, welcoming nicker. It's a sound that makes the children run even faster. They reach him in a whirlwind of emotion. Carmen is too small to reach his neck, so she throws her arms around his front leg, pressing her cheek against his powerful cannon bone. Miguel, taller, stretches up and buries his face in the horse's thick mane, his small body shaking with silent sobs of relief. "I knew you'd come back," Miguel whispers into the horse's neck. "I knew you wouldn't leave us." Thunder lowers his massive head and gently nudges the boy's shoulder. It's a gesture of pure affection, a bond that no sale or lie could ever break. And Nathan, watching this reunion, feels the first knot of a plan beginning to tighten in his gut. He's not going to tell them the truth. He can't. Not now. "Mister," Nathan looks down. The little girl, Carmen, is staring up at him, her dark eyes shining with tears and questions. "Did you find him? Did you bring our Thunder home?" This is it. The crossroads. He swings down from his mare, kneeling in the dust to be at their level. He looks from Carmen's hopeful face to Miguel's tear-streaked one. He has to do this right. "My name's Nathan Cross," he says, his voice a little rougher than he intended. "And this horse of well, he didn't just wander off. He was on a mission." The kid's eyes widen. Miguel takes a half-step closer, his hand never leaving Thunder's coat. "A mission? What kind of mission?" "A secret one," Nathan says, letting the story build itself in his mind. "A very important job from your papa." But as he says the words, a flicker of movement on the horizon catches his eye. A lone rider, far out on the prairie, sitting perfectly still on his horse. just watching them. A cold spike of unease drives itself deep into Nathan's soul. He'd thought this was the end of a sad story. Suddenly, he has the terrifying feeling that it's just the beginning. The rider on the horizon is just a speck, a heat shimmer mirage that could be nothing. But Nathan's gut, honed by years on the frontier, tells him otherwise. He tears his eyes away from the distant figure and focuses on the children, who are hanging on his every word, their grief momentarily forgotten. "Your papa," Nathan continues, forcing a steady tone. "He was helping the territorial marshal. They were tracking a dangerous gang of rustlers. They needed the fastest horse in the territory, a horse that could keep up with outlaws. They needed Thunder." Miguel's chest puffs out just a little. His father wasn't just a rancher. He was a hero. "So, Papa wasn't, he didn't," the boy can't finish the sentence, but Nathan knows what he's asking. "He made everyone think Thunder ran off to protect you." Nathan lies, the words tasting like ash in his mouth. "It was a secret, too dangerous for anyone to know the truth. He was a brave man, your father." Just then, the screen door of the adobe house creaks open. An elderly woman steps out onto the porch, her face a roadmap of worry and hard years. She wipes her hands on a faded apron, her eyes narrowed as she takes in the scene. Her grandchildren, the magnificent stallion, and the stranger kneeling in the dirt. This must be Rosa Martinez, their grandmother. "Abuela!" Carmen yells, running toward her. "Look, this man brought Thunder home. Papa sent him. Papa was a hero." Rosa's eyes flick from the children to Nathan, and the look in them isn't relief. It's not gratitude. It's pure, undiluted terror. She hurries toward them, her steps surprisingly quick for her age. She grabs both children, pulling them behind her skirt as if shielding them from a predator. Her gaze locks onto Nathan, and it's as cold and hard as iron. "What have you done?" she whispers, her voice trembling with a fear that makes the hairs on Nathan's arms stand up. "Who are you?" "Ma'am, my name is Nathan Cross. I just wanted to bring their horse back," he says, standing slowly, his hands held out to show he means no harm. "You don't understand," she hisses, her eyes darting nervously toward the open prairie, in the same direction Nathan had seen the rider. "That horse, my son didn't sell him for drink. He was taken. It was a debt." Nathan's blood runs cold. The story he heard in the saloon, it was wrong. All wrong. "A debt to who?" he asks, his voice barely a whisper. Rosa Martinez leans in closer, her eyes wide with a horrifying certainty. "To Silas Kane. And his men don't forgive debts. They collect. My son is dead because of that man. And now you've brought the one thing Kane is still looking for right back to my door. You haven't saved these children, senor. You've just painted a target on their backs. The distant rider is gone. But Nathan knows with a chilling certainty he'll be back. And he won't be alone." Silas Kane. The name hangs in the air like smoke from a pistol. Nathan has heard the name whispered in saloons and around campfires. A phantom who runs the most ruthless gang of rustlers, thieves, and killers in the territory. A man the law can't seem to touch. And according to Rosa, her son Eduardo was in his debt. "What kind of debt?" Nathan presses, keeping his voice low so the children, now distracted by Thunder, won't overhear. Rosa shakes her head, her face pale. "Eduardo, he was a good man, but after his wife died, he made bad choices. He borrowed money from Kane, thinking he could pay it back. But you never pay Kane back. You just owe him more. In the end, all he had left that Kane wanted was him." She gestures with a trembling hand toward the stallion. "Kane's men came a week ago. They didn't buy Thunder. They took him as payment. They told Eduardo the debt was settled. But they killed him," Nathan states, the pieces clicking into place. "The saloon brawl wasn't a brawl. It was an execution." 3 days later, Rosa confirms, tears welling in her eyes. "They made it look like a drunken fight. But I know. Eduardo was trying to get out, to be a good father again. Kane couldn't allow that. He couldn't allow loose ends." A horrifying thought dawns on Nathan. The dealer, the man I bought Thunder from in the next county. Was he a short man, with a scar above his right eye? Rosa's face goes ashen. "That's Lefty, one of Kane's most trusted men." You bought the horse from them? Nathan feels like a fool. He hadn't been a good Samaritan. He'd been a pawn. Cain's gang had taken the horse, killed Eduardo, and then sold the horse to a stranger to wash their hands of it, making a profit in the process. And he, Nathan Cross, had walked right into their trap. He'd paid them good money for their stolen property, and then, like an idiot, delivered the evidence of their crime right back to the scene. They know I have him, Nathan realizes aloud. Lefty knows who I am. They know where I was headed. The rider on the hill wasn't a scout. He was a spotter, confirming that the package had been delivered. But why? Why would they want the horse back here? It makes no sense. Unless... There's more, isn't there? Nathan asks, looking at Rosa. Why is the horse so important to them? It's a fine animal, but not worth this much trouble. Rosa hesitates, wringing her hands in her apron. Before they took Thunder, Eduardo was acting strangely. He spent hours in the barn with the horse. He was working on his saddle, the bridle. I thought he was just saying goodbye. But maybe he did something. Nathan's mind races. He walks over to Thunder, who is patiently allowing Carmen to braid a piece of twine into his forelock. He runs his hands over the horse, then turns his attention to the tack. It's a custom-made saddle, beautifully tooled leather, but worn from years of use. He feels along the seams, under the flaps, inside the bedroll tied to the back. Nothing. It's just a saddle. But then he sees it. On the back of the cantle, almost completely obscured by the bedroll, is a small carved symbol. It's not a brand or a maker's mark. It's a strange little spiral with a cross through it. He's never seen anything like it. He traces the symbol with his finger, a deep sense of dread growing inside him. This isn't about a horse. It was never about a horse. Eduardo Martinez, in his desperation, must have hidden something from Silas Cain. Something valuable enough to kill for. And he used the one thing he knew they would take, the one thing he loved most, as a Trojan horse. Nathan now understands the horrifying truth. He didn't just bring a horse home to two grieving children. He brought a ticking time bomb, and the fuse has just been lit. The sun begins to dip low, painting the sky in shades of orange and blood red. The beauty of the sunset is lost on Nathan. Every shadow seems to stretch and twist, hiding unseen threats. Silas Cain's gang knows the horse is here. They know Nathan brought it. It's not a matter of if they will come, but when. We need to get the children inside, Nathan says to Rosa, his voice tight, and we need to get ready. Ready for what? She asks, though her eyes tell him she already knows. We are simple people. We have one old shotgun and a handful of shells. What can we do against men like that? We can't just wait for them, Nathan insists. He looks at Miguel, who is watching the two adults with a worried expression, his earlier joy completely gone. The boy is old enough to sense the fear in the air. Miguel, I need you to be strong. I need you to help me with Thunder. We're going to put him in the barn. Carmen, you go inside with your abuela. The little girl starts to protest, but one look at her grandmother's stern face silences her. Rosa ushers her toward the house, casting one last, terrified glance at Nathan. As Nathan and Miguel lead Thunder toward the dilapidated barn, the boy finally speaks. Mister, that story you told us about Papa being a hero, was it true? Nathan stops, the weight of the question heavier than any physical burden. He looks down at this child who has already lost so much. He could tell him the truth now, the complicated, ugly truth about debts and criminals. But what good would it do? The fear is already here. The danger is already at their door. What the boy needs now isn't the truth. He needs a reason to be brave. It's truer than you know, son, Nathan says, meeting the boy's gaze. Your father stood up to a very bad man, and he was smart. He left us a clue, a way to beat them. I think it's on this saddle. Hope flickers in Miguel's eyes, chasing away some of the fear. A clue, like in a storybook. Something like that, Nathan says, forcing a smile. Now let's get this hero horse of yours hidden away. Inside the musty barn, with the last rays of light filtering through the cracks in the walls, Nathan gets to work on the saddle. He uses his pocket knife to carefully pry at the strange symbol carved into the leather. It's not just a carving. The leather around it is scored, as if a piece has been cut out and then expertly glued back in place. He works the tip of his blade into the seam, and with a soft pop, the small, circular piece of leather comes loose. It's a secret compartment. His heart pounds as he peers inside the small, hollowed-out space. It's not a map. It's not a key. It's something far stranger. Tucked inside is a small, tightly folded piece of oilcloth. He carefully unfolds it. Inside is not a message, but a single pressed flower, a dried blue flower he's never seen before. It's brittle with age, and it smells faintly of sage and something else. Something sweet, like honey. Miguel leans in closer. What is it? A flower? The disappointment in his voice is obvious. Nathan stares at the delicate blue petals. It makes no sense. Why would Eduardo hide a flower? What could it possibly mean? He feels a surge of frustration. This is their only clue, and it's a riddle he can't solve. And then they hear it. The distant sound of hoofbeats. Not one horse, at least 5 or 6 coming fast. Rosa appears at the barn door, the old shotgun clutched in her hands. "They're here," she breathes, her face a mask of despair. Nathan shoves the flower and the piece of leather into his pocket. There's no time to figure it out now. He looks around the barn, his eyes darting from the shadows to the single entrance. There's no back way out. They're trapped. The hoofbeats grow louder, closer, a thunderous announcement of their doom. The riders surround the house, their dark shapes silhouetted against the dying light. A voice, cold and slick as a snake, cuts through the evening air. "Martinez, we know you're in there, and we know you have our property. Send out the horse and the man who brought it, and we'll let the children live to see the sunrise." It's a lie, and everyone knows it. Silas Kane doesn't leave witnesses. Panic, cold and sharp, threatens to overwhelm Nathan. He's a rancher, not a gunslinger. He's trapped in a barn with a grieving grandmother and a 10-year-old boy, armed with one ancient shotgun against a gang of killers. His act of kindness has turned into a death sentence. "Stay back from the door," Nathan whispers, pushing Rosa and Miguel toward the rear of the barn. He peeks through a crack in the wooden wall. He can make out at least 5 riders, rifles held ready. They've formed a loose circle around the house and barn, cutting off any chance of escape. One man, presumably Silas Kane, sits on his horse directly in front of the house, a dark, imposing figure. "You've got 1 minute," Kane shouts, his voice echoing in the twilight. "Then we start burning things down, starting with that tinderbox you call a barn." Nathan's mind is a whirlwind. The flower, the riddle, it's all useless now. He needs a miracle. He looks at Miguel, who is trying his best to be brave, his small hands clenched into fists. He looks at Rosa, who is praying softly in Spanish, her eyes closed tight. He can't let them die. "The window," Rosa whispers suddenly, her eyes snapping open. "The old hayloft window." Nathan looks up. High in the back wall of the barn is a small square opening, used for loading hay. It's at least 15 feet up, and there's no ladder. "Miguel," Nathan says, his voice urgent, "how good are you with that horse?" The boy looks from Nathan to Thunder, who is standing calmly in his stall, seemingly unbothered by the commotion. "He's my best friend. He listens to me." "Good," Nathan says, a desperate, half-formed plan taking shape. "I need you to get on him, bareback. Can you do that?" Miguel nods, his eyes wide. Nathan lifts the boy up onto Thunder's broad back. The stallion doesn't even flinch. "Now listen to me very carefully. When I tell you to, I want you to kick him. Hard. And you ride him straight for that back wall. Don't stop for anything. You understand?" "But the wall," Miguel stammers. "The wood is old. Rotten," Rosa interjects, understanding Nathan's insane gamble. "It might break." "It has to break," Nathan says grimly. He turns to Rosa. "The moment they see him, they'll all go for the horse. It's what they really want. When they do, you run. Take Carmen and run for the creek bed. Don't look back." "What about you?" she asks, her voice thick with fear. "I'll be creating a distraction," Nathan says, checking the shotgun. "It has 2 shells. He'll have to make them count." 30 seconds, Kane yells from outside. Nathan takes a deep breath. "Miguel, when you get clear, you ride for Willow Creek. You ride like the devil himself is chasing you. You find Sheriff Brody. You tell him what's happening. Go now. But Miguel doesn't move. He looks down at Nathan, his young face set with a determination that looks eerily like his father's. The flower, he says. Abuela, what's the name of the blue flower that only grows up by the old mission? Rosa stares at him, her mind momentarily blank. The one Papa used to pick for Mama? It's called Lágrima de Cielo, a tear from heaven. A tear from heaven. The name clicks something in Nathan's mind. It's not just a flower. It's a location, a landmark. Eduardo hadn't hidden an object. He'd hidden a destination, a place where the real secret was waiting. 10 seconds. There's no more time. Miguel, ride! Nathan bellows. The boy kicks his heels into Thunder's flanks. The powerful stallion surges forward, not toward the back wall, but straight toward the main barn doors. It's a move of pure, unexpected audacity. No! Nathan shouts, but it's too late. Thunder hits the old wooden doors with the force of a battering ram. The wood explodes outward in a shower of splinters. For a split second, Kane and his men are just frozen in shock, staring at the sight of the magnificent black horse charging out of the barn with a small boy on its back. Nathan doesn't waste the moment. He raises the shotgun, takes aim at the lantern hanging on the porch of the house, and fires. The first barrel erupts with a deafening roar. The lantern explodes, plunging the yard into near darkness and showering the front of the house with burning oil. The dry wood of the porch catches fire instantly. Flames begin to lick up the side of the house. "The horse! Get the horse!" Kane screams, his voice raw with fury. Two of the riders peel off, chasing after Thunder and Miguel as they gallop into the dark prairie. The other three, including Kane, are momentarily distracted by the rapidly spreading fire. Nathan uses the chaos. He grabs Rosa's arm. "Go! Get Carmen! Run!" He shoves her toward the back of the house, then turns back to the front, reloading the shotgun with his last shell. He steps out of the barn, a lone figure against the backdrop of the burning home. He raises the shotgun and points it squarely at Silas Kane. "It's over, Kane!" Nathan yells, his voice ringing with a confidence he doesn't feel. "You're not getting the horse, and you're not getting what he was hiding." Kane wheels his horse around, his face illuminated by the firelight, his lips curled into a venomous sneer. "You have no idea who you're dealing with, rancher." He raises his own pistol. "You just signed your own death warrant, and the boys." The two men face off in the flickering light of the flames, the lives of two innocent children hanging in the balance. Nathan has one shot left. Kane has a full cylinder. The odds are impossible. And miles away, a small boy on a black stallion is riding for his life, carrying a secret he doesn't even know he has. The fire crackles, a hungry beast devouring the Martinez home. Smoke billows into the night sky, thick and suffocating. In the hellish orange glow, Nathan stands his ground, the shotgun feeling heavy and inadequate in his hands. Across the yard, Silas Kane's eyes glitter with murderous intent. Two of his men are flanking him, their own guns drawn. "You're a fool," Kane says, his voice dangerously calm. "You think this is about a horse? Eduardo stole something from me, something much more valuable, and I have a feeling he told his boy where it is. After we kill you, we'll catch up to the kid. We'll get the information one way or another." The threat hangs in the air, a chilling promise. Nathan's mind races. He needs to buy time. Time for Miguel to get away. Time for Rosa and Carmen to disappear into the darkness. "You're wrong," Nathan bluffs, his voice steady. "Eduardo didn't tell the boy anything. He told me." Kane's eyes narrow slightly, a flicker of uncertainty. "You're lying." "Am I?" Nathan counters. "He called it the tear from heaven. Sound familiar?" He sees it then. A flash of recognition in Kane's eyes, quickly masked. He's hit a nerve. The flower wasn't just a location, it was a name, a code word. Whatever Eduardo hid, that was its name. The bluff works better than he could have hoped. Kane hesitates. That moment of hesitation is all Nathan needs. He's not aiming for Kane. He's aiming for the horse trough beside him. He pulls the trigger. The last shell explodes from the barrel. The heavy buckshot rips through the side of the wooden trough. Water gushes out, turning the dusty ground in front of Kane's horse into a muddy bog. The horse, startled by the blast and the sudden spray of water, rears violently. Cain curses, fighting to control his spooked mount. His two men, momentarily distracted, turn toward their boss. It's the opening Nathan needs. He drops the empty shotgun and dives back into the shadows of the barn, just as two pistols fire, the bullets thudding into the spot where he was just standing. He doesn't stop. He runs through the barn, out the shattered back wall, and into the night. He can hear Cain screaming orders, the gang trying to organize in the chaos of fire and mud. He sprints for the creek bed, praying Rosa and Carmen made it. He scrambles down the embankment and finds them huddled behind a thicket of willows, Carmen whimpering softly in her grandmother's arms. "We have to go," he whispers urgently, pulling them along. "They'll be after us as soon as they realize I'm gone." They move as quickly and quietly as they can, following the winding path of the dry creek, using the darkness as their shield. Behind them, the orange glow of the fire is a terrible beacon, marking the spot where their lives were shattered. Every rustle of leaves, every snap of a twig sounds like an approaching horseman. After what feels like an eternity, they stop to catch their breath. The sounds of the gang have faded, but Nathan knows they haven't given up. They'll be tracking them, or worse, they'll all have gone after Miguel. The thought sends a fresh wave of fear through him. "The old mission," Rosa gasps, her breath coming in ragged bursts. That's what he meant. The mission of Nuestra Señora de las Lágrimas, Our Lady of Tears. There's a shrine there, high in the hills. Eduardo used to take the children there to see the wildflowers. It all connects. The tear from heaven, the blue flower, the mission. Eduardo hid whatever he stole at the shrine. "How far?" Nathan asks. "A day's ride north," she says. "But on foot. 2, maybe 3 days. We'll never make it before they find us." Just then, a new sound reaches them. A single horse approaching at a trot. Not from the direction of the burning homestead, but from the town of Willow Creek. Nathan's heart leaps into his throat. Is it one of Cain's men, circling around to cut them off? He pushes Rosa and Carmen deeper into the shadows, his hand resting on the hilt of his hunting knife, the only weapon he has left. The horse and rider come into view, silhouetted by the moonlight. The rider is small, impossibly small. "Mr. Cross?" a familiar voice calls out tentatively. "Abuela?" It's Miguel. He's on Thunder, and he's not alone. Trotting behind him on a lead rope is Nathan's own chestnut mare. The boy had circled back. Instead of riding for the sheriff, he had ridden for Nathan's horse, which he'd left tied up a ways from the homestead. "Miguel!" Rosa cries, a sob of pure relief escaping her lips as she runs to him. "I heard the shooting," the boy says, his voice trembling but resolute. "I knew you'd need help. I couldn't leave you." Nathan is speechless. This 10-year-old boy, in an act of incredible courage and quick thinking, had just given them their only chance. He had brought them their escape. But their relief is short-lived. From the direction of the smoldering ranch, they hear a hound baying. A hunting dog. They've found their trail. Cain is coming. "Get on," Nathan commands, helping Rosa and Carmen onto his mare. He swings up behind Miguel on Thunder's broad back. "Miguel, you're going to have to show us the way to the mission." With the sound of the hunting dog getting closer, they urge the horses on, plunging deeper into the unforgiving wilderness. It's a race now, a race to a forgotten shrine in the hills, with a gang of killers and a baying hound hot on their trail. And Nathan knows with a dreadful certainty that whatever is hidden at that shrine is the key to everything. It's either their salvation or their tombstone. They ride through the night, a desperate, frantic flight. The powerful muscles of the horses work beneath them, carrying them over rocky terrain and through thorny brush. Miguel, despite his fear, is a surprisingly good guide, navigating by the stars and the shape of the hills with an instinct born of a childhood spent exploring these lands. Behind them, the baying of Cain's hound is a persistent, terrifying drumbeat, sometimes fading as they gain ground, sometimes growing closer as the dog finds a scent. Nathan's mind is a tangled knot of fear and strategy. Cain isn't just chasing them anymore. He knows where they're going. The moment Nathan said, "Tear from heaven," the destination was no longer a secret. Cain is pushing his men and his horses, knowing he can trap them at the mission. Their only hope is to get there first, find whatever Eduardo hid, and pray it's something they can use as a weapon or a bargaining chip. As dawn approaches, painting the eastern sky in pale shades of gray and pink, they are forced to slow down. The horses are lathered and tired, and Rosa and Carmen are exhausted, clinging weakly to the saddle. They find a small hidden canyon with a trickle of water and a patch of grass, a place to rest for a precious hour. "We can't stop for long," Nathan says, letting the horses drink. "What is it?" Rosa asks, her voice hoarse. "What did my son hide that is worth all this?" "I don't know," Nathan admits. He pulls the folded oilcloth from his pocket and carefully unwraps the pressed blue flower. He looks at it, turning it over in his fingers. It seems so fragile, so insignificant. But Cain wants it badly. Miguel, who had been quiet for hours, speaks up. "Papa's box," he says softly. Nathan looks at him. "What box?" "He had a little wooden box. He kept his important things in it. His army medals, a picture of Mama. He carved it himself. It had that same curly mark on the top." Miguel points a small, dirt-stained finger at the symbol on the piece of leather from the saddle, the spiral with the cross. "Where is this box?" Nathan asks, his heart starting to beat faster. "I don't know," Miguel says, his face falling. "He took it with him the day before Cain's men came. He said he was going to put it somewhere safe, somewhere the angels could watch over it." The shrine. He hid the box at the shrine. The flower was just a key, a reminder. The real secret is in that box. Their brief rest is cut short. The hounds' baying suddenly sounds much closer. They've been found. "They're on us," Nathan says, his voice grim. He helps Rosa and Carmen back onto his mare. "We have to split up." Rosa looks at him in terror. "No, it's our only chance," he insists, his mind working quickly. "Rosa, you take my mare with Carmen. Follow this canyon down. It will eventually lead to the old stagecoach road to Willow Creek. You'll be slower, but the trail is harder to follow in the rocks. They'll follow the fresher tracks." "Whose tracks?" she asks, her eyes wide. "Ours," Nathan says, nodding to Miguel and Thunder. "We're faster. We'll lead them on a chase. We'll draw them toward the mission, give you time to get away." It's a suicide mission. He knows it. But it's the only way to get the women and the little girl to safety. He's trading his life, and possibly Miguel's, for theirs. "I won't leave you," Rosa says, her voice firm. "You have to," Nathan says, his tone leaving no room for argument. "You have to get Carmen to safety. It's what Eduardo would have wanted." He turns to Miguel. "What about it, son? Feel like leading some bad men on a wild goose chase?" The boy looks terrified, but he straightens his shoulders and nods. "For Papa," he says, his voice small but steady. Nathan watches as Rosa and Carmen ride away, his mare picking its way carefully down the rocky canyon floor. Every instinct screams for him to go with them, to protect them, but he knows this is the only play he has left. He and Miguel mount Thunder, the great stallion sensing the urgency, his ears twitching, his powerful body tensed and ready. "All right, Cain," Nathan mutters under his breath as they ride out of the canyon, intentionally leaving a clear trail in the soft earth. "You want a race? Let's see what you've got." They ride hard and fast, pushing Thunder to his limits. The magnificent horse responds, his hooves devouring the miles, his speed a thing of legend. The baying of the hound grows louder, joined now by the shouts of men. They've taken the bait. The entire gang is now chasing the stallion. They crest a ridge and Nathan looks back. He can see them, 5 riders, maybe a mile behind, pushing their horses mercilessly. They are gaining. Their mounts are fresher. Thunder, for all his power, has been running all night. "We're not going to be able to outrun them all the way to the mission," Nathan says, more to himself than to Miguel. He needs to even the odds. He spots what he's looking for up ahead. A narrow pass littered with boulders and loose rock. A perfect spot for an ambush, if he had a rifle. But he doesn't. He has a knife and his wits. "Miguel," he says, pulling Thunder to a halt just before the pass. "I need you to do something very dangerous. I need you to ride through this pass alone." The boy's eyes widen in fear. "But I'm going to slow them down," Nathan says, sliding off the horse. He grabs the coiled rope from his saddle. "When you get through to the other side, Find a place to hide. Don't come out until you hear me call. If you don't hear me call by sunset, you ride to Willow Creek. You find the sheriff. You promise me?" Tears well in Miguel's eyes, but he nods bravely. "I promise." "Go," Nathan says, slapping Thunder's flank. The horse leaps forward, carrying the boy into the narrow pass. Nathan turns and scrambles up the rocky side of the canyon, the rope in his hand. He finds a spot directly above the trail, hidden behind a large boulder. He waits, his heart pounding a frantic rhythm against his ribs. He can hear the riders approaching, their horses' hooves echoing off the canyon walls. He has one chance to make this work. He anchors one end of the rope to a sturdy rock outcropping and plays out the rest, holding the loose end in his hand. He waits until the first two riders enter the pass directly below him. Now, he yanks the rope taut across the trail, about chest high to a man on a horse. The lead rider never sees it. His horse hits the rope at a full gallop. The sudden, violent stop sends the rider flying from his saddle. He lands with a sickening crunch of bone on the rocks below. The second rider, caught by surprise, plows directly into the first horse. Man and beast go down in a tangled, screaming heap. The other three riders, including Kane, pull up short, their guns drawn, searching for the source of the ambush. Nathan doesn't wait. He kicks a large, precariously balanced boulder at the edge of the cliff. It teeters for a moment, then crashes down onto the trail, starting a small rock slide. It doesn't hit anyone, but it completely blocks the pass, separating Kane and his last man from their fallen comrades. It's a temporary victory, but it bought them time. Nathan scrambles down the other side of the ridge, whistling sharply. A moment later, Miguel emerges from behind a cluster of trees, his face pale but his eyes shining with awe. Nathan jumps up behind him on Thunder. "That won't hold them for long," he says. "Let's ride." They've taken out two of Kane's men without firing a shot, but Kane is still back there, and he will be furious. The race has just become a blood feud. The rock slide gives them a precious lead. For over an hour they ride without hearing the hound, pushing Thunder toward the high country where the old mission stands. The air grows thinner, cooler. The landscape changes from rolling hills to jagged peaks dotted with piñon pines. Miguel directs them with unerring certainty, his small frame held tight against Nathan's as they navigate the treacherous mountain trails. Finally, they see it. Perched on a windswept mesa, outlined against the bright blue sky, are the crumbling adobe walls of the mission of Nuestra Señora de las Lágrimas. It's a hauntingly beautiful place, a ruin filled with silence and ghosts. The shrine, Miguel tells him, is in the old bell tower, the only part of the structure that hasn't collapsed. They leave Thunder hidden in a thicket of trees at the base of the mesa and make their way up a steep, winding path on foot. The silence is unnerving. Nathan keeps glancing back, expecting to see Kane and his remaining man appear on the trail below. The bell tower stands like a lonely sentinel. They step inside into the cool, dusty darkness. At the base of the tower, against one wall, is a small, simple shrine to the Virgin Mary. A few faded handmade offerings are laid before the statue, and there, tucked behind the statue's base, is a small wooden box. The spiral symbol is carved right on the lid. With trembling hands, Miguel lifts the box. It's not locked. He opens it. Nathan expects to see gold or jewels or a deed to a hidden mine, something worth killing for. But it's none of those things. The box contains a small, leather-bound book, a stack of letters tied with a ribbon, and a single tarnished silver army medal. "It's Papa's," Miguel whispers, his voice filled with reverence. He picks up the medal. Nathan takes the leather-bound book. He opens it. It's a ledger. The pages are filled with neat columns of names, dates, and figures. It takes him only a moment to understand what he's holding. This isn't treasure, it's evidence. It's a detailed record of Silas Kane's entire criminal enterprise. Every cattle-rustling job, every payroll robbery, every bribe paid to a crooked lawman. Eduardo Martinez hadn't just been a debtor. He'd been Kane's bookkeeper. He had been forced into it, and this ledger was his revenge. It was his confession and Kane's conviction, all in one. This is what Kane was so desperate to get back. Not a horse, not gold, but his own downfall. He was going to take this to the territorial marshal, Nathan says, a newfound respect for the dead man filling him. That's why Kane killed him. Your father, the story I told you, it was true after all. He really was a hero. A floorboard creaks behind them. Nathan spins around, shoving Miguel behind him. Silas Kane is standing in the doorway of the tower, a long-barreled revolver in his hand. His clothes are torn, and his face is scratched and bleeding from the rock slide, but his eyes burn with triumph. His last remaining man stands just behind him. "Thank you for finding that for me," Kane says with a cruel smile, gesturing with his pistol. "Now hand it over, the book and the boy." "What do you want with the boy?" Nathan asks, his body tense, shielding Miguel. "A loose end," Kane says coldly. "He knows too much, just like his father. Now, the book, or I kill you both right here." Nathan's mind races. There's no escape. The doorway is blocked. He has no weapon. This is the end of the line. Just as Kane takes a step forward, a new voice rings out, sharp and authoritative. "Drop it, Kane!" Everyone freezes. Standing outside the mission, in the bright sunlight, is a man with a silver star pinned to his vest. He's tall, with a grim, determined face, and he's holding a rifle leveled right at Kane's chest. It's Sheriff Brody from Willow Creek, and behind him on horseback is Rosa Martinez. "How?" Kane sputters, his face a mask of disbelief. Rosa's voice is strong, filled with a mother's fury. "You think I would leave my grandson in the hands of a monster? We rode straight for town. We never stopped." Sheriff Brody had been skeptical at first, but Rosa's desperate plea had convinced him to ride out and see for himself. He'd found the trail of the chase, the dead men in the pass, and had followed the tracks here. For a moment, there is a tense standoff. Kane, his man, and Nathan and Miguel are in the tower. The sheriff is outside. Kane is a cornered rat, and he knows it. He makes a split-second decision. He grabs Miguel, pulling the boy in front of him as a shield and pressing the barrel of his revolver to the child's temple. "Everybody drops their guns or the boy dies," Kane screams, dragging Miguel back into the shadows of the tower. Sheriff Brody curses, but he lowers his rifle. He can't risk a shot. Nathan's heart plummets. They were so close, but Kane still holds the winning card. He's going to use Miguel to escape, and then he'll kill him. But Kane has forgotten about one thing. He has forgotten about the bond between a boy and his horse. From the thicket of trees at the base of the mesa comes an earth-shaking sound. A furious, protective scream of a stallion. Thunder has heard his boy's cry of fear. The horse comes charging up the steep path, a black demon of pure muscle and rage. Kane's man, standing guard at the door, turns in shock just as 2,000 pounds of angry horse flesh slams into him. He's thrown aside like a rag doll. Thunder doesn't stop. He charges straight into the tower. Kane, shocked by the sudden appearance of the horse, loosens his grip on Miguel for just a fraction of a second. It's the only opening Nathan needs. He lunges forward, not at Kane, but at Miguel, shoving the boy out of the way. He crashes into Kane, and the two men go down in a desperate struggle. Kane's pistol fires, the shot going wild, the bullet ricocheting off the old mission bell hanging silently above them. The fight is brutal and short. Nathan is fueled by adrenaline and righteous anger. He lands a punch that sends Kane reeling backward, his head hitting the stone wall with a sickening crack. The outlaw slumps to the ground, dazed. It's over. Sheriff Brody rushes in, his gun ready, and kicks Kane's pistol away. Within minutes, Kane and his surviving man are in handcuffs. Miguel runs to Thunder, throwing his arms around the horse's neck, burying his face in his mane. The great stallion lowers his head, nuzzling the boy who he had just saved. Nathan picks up the ledger from the dusty floor. He walks outside and hands it to Sheriff Brody. "I think you'll find this makes for interesting reading, Sheriff," he says. "It's the story of Eduardo Martinez, the story of a hero." He looks at Rosa, who is hugging Miguel tightly, her face wet with tears of relief. He looks at the crumbling mission, the brave lawman, the loyal horse, and the boy who has his father's courage. He had come to this town to return a horse and tell a kind lie. He ended up uncovering a truth that was grander and more powerful than any story he could have ever invented. The truth of a father's love, a son's bravery, and the unbreakable spirit of a family that refused to be broken. The journey home was quiet. Silas Kane and his last man were tied to their saddles, their reign of terror finally over. Sheriff Brody had the ledger tucked safely in his saddlebag, enough evidence to clean out the corruption in 3 counties. Rosa, Carmen, and Miguel rode together, their family broken but not defeated, their future uncertain but no longer shadowed by fear. Nathan rode beside them, the reins of his mare held loosely in his hands. He was just a rancher, but for a few chaotic, terrifying days, he'd been something more. He'd been a part of their story. When they arrived back in Willow Creek, the news of Kane's capture spread like wildfire. The townspeople who had lived in fear of the phantom outlaw for years came out to cheer Sheriff Brody. But the sheriff, an honest man, set the record straight. "Don't thank me," he announced to the crowd gathered in the main street. "Thank the Martinez family, and thank this man, Nathan Cross, and thank Eduardo Martinez who gave his life to see this day happen." In an official ceremony a week later, the territorial marshal came to Willow Creek. He publicly cleared Eduardo's name, declaring him a hero who had worked secretly to bring down the territory's most dangerous criminal. He presented Miguel with a posthumous medal for his father's bravery, the very same one that had been in the wooden box. The story Nathan had invented to comfort 2 children had become the official, celebrated truth. Nathan didn't stay for the ceremony. That wasn't his world. He'd made arrangements for Rosa and the children. The reward money for Kane's capture, which was substantial, was given to them. They would be able to rebuild their home, to start fresh. He said his goodbyes at the edge of town. Carmen gave him a hug that nearly broke his heart. Rosa took his hand and looked at him with a gratitude that needed no words. Miguel was the last to say goodbye. He stood straight and tall, the silver medal pinned to his shirt. He looked less like a boy and more like the young man he was quickly becoming. "Are you leaving?" Miguel asked. "I have a ranch to get back to," Nathan said with a small smile. "Will you come visit?" the boy asked, his voice earnest. "Thunder will miss you." "I'll visit," Nathan promised. "But that horse, he's right where he belongs. You take care of him. We'll take care of each other," Miguel said with a wisdom beyond his years. Nathan nodded, his throat tight with emotion. He turned his mare and rode away, not looking back. He knew that if he did, he might never leave. As he rode into the setting sun, he felt a sense of peace he hadn't known in a long, long time. He hadn't just returned a horse, he had returned a family's honor. He had helped a boy find a legacy, and in doing so, had found a piece of his own soul he didn't even know was missing. Sometimes, the truth isn't just about the facts of what happened. It's about the bigger story, the one that inspires us to be brave, to be loyal, and to fight for what's right, even when the odds are impossible. That was the story of Eduardo Martinez, and now it was a part of Nathan's story too, a story he would carry with him for the rest of his days on the long, dusty trails of the American West. That story is a powerful reminder that heroes are often found in the most unexpected places. It wasn't a lawman or a gunslinger who brought down Silas Kane. It was a desperate father, a brave little boy, a loyal horse, and a stranger who simply decided to do the right thing. It makes you wonder, what would you have done in Nathan's position? Would you have told the simple, ugly truth, or would you have crafted a better one? Let me know down in the comments. And if you enjoyed this ride through the Old West, do us a favor and wrangle that like button, and be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next story. Thanks for watching.